Like zoinks bats. Snorting that Joker gas was a really good idea.
Radio, Master Wayne.
What? What? Of all people, Alfred would never.
He'd probably be the one to call him. This party has gone far enough, Master Wayne. It's like,
When last we left off, Bats was baked in a elevator. I was going to try to find another bee.
If they finally convinced Alfred with a Fernie Branker.
But anyways, he's still going to take all these guys out, though. Whoa, okay, or one of them. I thought I could get both. We are coming into the final few. Probably not episodes, because we still got a whole bunch of side stuff to do. But we're coming up to the final boss here.
This is what most people would end with.
Most people would end with what? In the game?
Just, yeah, I mean,
of
just
a Let's Play? Most non-completionists.
I'm not suggesting most people that are playing the game not as...
Well, yeah, most people aren't going to 100% just because that's a lot to ask. But
that is actually a worse...
But we are initiated.
It's a lovely, lovely game.
I couldn't remember the rest of that quote. What is he? Doesn't he? We are initiated. Does he call him Mr. Wayne or something?
But we are already initiated.
No need to stand on formality here. Mr. Wayne. I don't think the Bane voice is as bad as some people give it.
People give it crap?
Yeah, because it's weird. And whoa, okay, he just glitched. That was a full-on Agent Smith.
I'm sorry,
thing
you took a character that was basically nothing but a roid machine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that that's people's complaints about it. I think you did. I think they did Bane as best as they could in a realistic setting like those movies. That's why the stun guys suck a lot.
Use your sick stick.
Well, use the forget me stick.
No, what's the sick stick from? That's.
I don't know.
Is that another...
I don't want to sell you death sticks. I want to go home and rethink my life.
Sick stick is like where when he touches you, they touch you with it, you end up getting instantaneously sick. That may be another equilibrium thing.
Okay, sure. I have no clue.
Not. Oh no, it's not. It's Marvel. That's
Marvel.
Yeah, it's
the sick stick.
Yeah.
This doesn't sound like a real
thing. It's one of the Captain America deals.
And it makes you sick.
Mm-hmm. It's like
ill sick or like makes you throw up?
No, throw up instantaneously. It's like a weird...
Okay, let's try this a little more seriously this time.
Anyway, so Bane, I didn't realize that they
hated
on his voice.
I don't think... Well, it's just because I think it is a bit random. Like, it doesn't exactly have much of a...
Well, I mean...
It's because it's not strictly an accent, but it's not strictly just like a voice modifier.
Yeah, but they couldn't really do that because...
From what I gather...
James Earl Jones has already done that with
Well, I don't think they were going for quite that level of...
Well, I'm just saying, he did it first too, and then...
He did it first.
I'm sure people gave him crap for the Darth Vader thing as well. I mean...
I don't think anyone gave Darth Vader crap.
I'm suggesting
because that was not a voice. That was just... I mean, yes, it was a voice, but it was not like an accent, whereas Tom Hardy put on... Evidently, it was based on... There's some, like, Welsh boxer he based it on who had a bit of a weird accent like that. And it's... I don't know why he chose that, other than that I guess he thought the character reminded him of him. I don't know. I don't think it's bad is the point I'm trying to make. Okay, why can't I dodge that?
I think it plays well to the nonplussed...
Yeah, it definitely had a sort of... A bit of the HAL 2001, like always.
Yeah, exactly.
Very calm and composed, which is sort of creepy in that to that extreme that he played it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Precisely.
I thought it was all right.
Yep.
But then again, I don't think the bat growl is as big a problem as a lot of people make it out to be. So perhaps we're the minority here.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to the subject of bats being baked.
The baked bats.
The bats being baked with
baked bats bandit
and some beans and
Boston baked bats
and irritable bowel syndrome. What? Boston baked bats.
Have you never had
Bad
Boston
news bats?
What? Have you never had Boston baked beans before?
No.
They're great. It's a candy.
Baked beans is a candy?
It's
Are they called baked beans or are they actually made of beans?
They're not. They're called baked beans. It's peanuts, I think, with like some candied shell around them.
Then why not just call them candied peanuts? Because
that's boring as all get out. It's a candied peanut.
Is okay. Nope, not you. Dance time.
So for the future, apparently, marketing is not our strong suit.
Marketing.
There's a candied peanut. We're
Candied-
calling it candied
We're
peanut.
calling it Bats is baked out of his bones. Bonks.
Bats is baked out of his bong? Was he inside of it? He's so baked he got inside.
Well, I could imagine that. He's like staring in, going like, "How do I get that goodness in me?"
A hot box on steroids.
Hey, there you go. Well,
Climb into the bong.
it's got to be a real big one. I don't want to finish it because it's such a big bomb. I almost got a spit take out of that one. That would have been funny.
Oh, yeah, but see, no, they couldn't see that. We don't have...
They would have heard it and it would have been funny. Look at us having fully leveled up the bat. I think. Oh, we don't have critical strikes, but screws critical strikes. Screws critical strikes? I can't speak.
Struce.
So now the only person left to level up is the Catwoman we get to play one more mission as.
Oh. You mean I get to play one more
Yeah,
mission?
sure.
as?
I'll pass that off to you. But off the subject of bats being baked, what do you think this is? Safe? Oh, come on,
Safe
bats, have a
house,
little
safe-
fun.
Safeguard.
Safeguard itga. I don't know why they do that. It's obvious. We don't have any control over the fuzzy letters, so I don't know why they act like it's some added challenge. Okay. That was a... Well, apparently we can't get off the subject of bats being baked. Bats is too big to be off the subject. I don't know. Okay.
Too big to be
They're-
bats.
Too big to bat, and I don't know how to climb off. I'm supposed to, like, ledge climb.
We
No,
need to do
bats.
It's unfit to fiddle. I'm not ready for love. I don't know.
I don't. Okay, bat. No, get that away. We don't need this. I'm baked is the secret. I can't figure it out.
Wow, you're gonna have people thinking that we're sitting here just...
Well, I'm not sure they're not thinking that already.
Well,
Climb
maybe.
down. That's the button I needed. You'd think that could have just been contextual. Whoa, he is flying. Oh, yeah, isn't that true? Something like... Oh, no, I'm thinking of alcoholism.
Wow.
It's the whole thing of, like, drunk people tend to survive accidents more because
Oh,
they're,
that's
like,
right. Yeah,
they're, like,
that's
all
awful.
loose and they don't tense up. So I'm like,
Well, that's
maybe...
actually a whole fighting style,
Maybe
too,
because
drunken
he's...
boxing.
Well, yeah. So I'm thinking, like, maybe because he's baked, he, like, can leap frog. I don't know.
He can leap tall buildings without
Without much help.
without much help.
Okay, so we're climbing the tower because we're on the final mission. And
Is this where he gets to go rescue
This is actually-
Roxanne Ritchie? This kind of looks...
there we go. That's where I was going. Roxanne. Oh, okay. It took me a moment.
Anyway, so yeah. We
Yeah.
thought we would maybe revisit
Yes.
maybe Music 2.0
Yes, because
topic.
after listening to our last. Oh, that doesn't affect me. I mean, other than in the general sense of the whole "no man is an island" thing, but I don't care.
It doesn't affect me other than the fact that this is my city that I'm supposed to
Yeah, well, stuff happens. I can't always. Bats would get along a lot better if he just learned that you can't win them all.
Wow.
There we go. But anyways, after editing that video, I was like, wow, we kind of gave up on that topic without much
Well,
of a fight.
I think we did not do ourselves a service in communicating that we actually are quite musically inclined. We don't have completely novice knowledge in musical genre and the like,
Well-
although we may have come off like it.
I don't know that was our problem. I think it was just that we realized that it was a much larger topic than we intended.
probably true.
And kind of tried to skirt away from that. But, you got to get back on the horse, so we're going to try it again. And because I've been going back through some of the playlist stuff since then, and I'm like, you know what? We should give this a better shot, because it's worth talking about. So talk about it.
Sure. I mean,
Well,
I've actually had the thought
of
of...
mint ice cream, maintenance. Oh, but I mean, see, this isn't fun, Batch. You gotta play.
Maintenance.
You gotta play a little game.
I thought we might just unpack. So we both, I think we established this in the previous episode.
We established that genres are largely useless.
Yes.
Let's qualify.
We also established that we both have Zune 30s.
Yes.
So I think let's just start with the various. Well, I'm just saying let's use that as kind of a springboard for what genres do we have.
Well, yes, and I think that's a little clarification of like, is there a time when genres aren't useless?
And why were they even a thing? Is really
because
question.
There's a reason. I think the problem is the hyper. Oh, okay, that was easier than I thought. Is the hyper fixation on them that makes it a problem? Because when you start to be like, oh well, there's black metal, and then there's death metal, and then there's thrash metal, and then there's slit a goat's throat in the middle of the solo metal. There's like people who are trying to be like, it can't be this unless.
What's that weird rap genre that's like horror?
Slit a goat's throat.
It's a little bit like that. It's called
horror rap.
It's like horrorcore or something like that.
And this is rap specifically.
Yeah, it's a really weird
I'm not
genre.
into rap, so that's probably I'm not the right person to ask.
So,
anyways, a brief aside. We discussed this last time, being the sensible conclusion for a Batman game. This is a one-room security, high security, lots of guys, and not much room to hide. So again, makes sense to be the final climax of a Batman game. Hopefully it won't take us as many attempts as the Joker fight did, but anyways.
No.
I'm going to start somewhere and see what happens. Okay, they heard that. I thought maybe they wouldn't.
On the Joker. Or not on the Joker, on Mr. Freeze. Because I was sitting there watching Jungle Book today with my children.
And that led you to Mr. Freeze.
Listen, and I could not figure out why I recognized Shere Khan's voice.
Was he the voice of Mr. Freeze
ever? He, at one point, played the voice of Mr. Freeze in like a single animated one-off. And it wasn't even with Mark
and you're going to pretend that you remember that?
I know that I knew his voice from something, and then I was like, oh,
and it was that?
It was...
He played Mr. Freeze in one episode that you just so happened to have seen.
I just know that his voice sounded very familiar.
Well, because the guy who played Shere Khan was famous in his day. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've looked up all of his movies, and I don't know that I recognized any of them personally.
The question is, do you think those guys can see me? Because I'm not officially crouched. Okay, well...
Well, based on what they're looking like...
He's getting awfully close.
Now, I would say no.
No, you're getting too close.
A little closer.
Oh, well...
No, you're too close.
Oh, his buddy's like, you idiot, he's clearly out there. Oh, never mind. Okay, well, so Strange knows I'm here because they all heard that. I might just No, guy coming around the box. He'll be coming around the box when he comes. But anyways.
Yeah, back to the...
I don't know. I feel like it's useful up to a point. You can't over-stratify. Don't be like, well, technically, because this doesn't include a sitar, it can't be considered...
World.
Sure. I was going to stick with the metal for... ease of
since when does metal have sitars?
I don't know. I was gonna pull something out of my butt.
Well, I just actually put your butt into a proper classification, so...
Well, thank you for classifying my butt. I'd appreciate it if you didn't do anything else with it right now.
I think it's interesting how humankind as a whole, though, like, has to classify things into various subgenres. I mean,
and it makes sense to a degree.
It does. I mean, we do it even with personhood. And,
because I mean, okay, bats. Why would you do that? Why am I what? Why are you doing this? Why are you like this, bats?
High as a kite. I don't know why. I'm making my choices with nothing on my mind.
Okay, well, no! Bats! I meant to get in the thingy. Okay, good. He's not coming this way. I think I might even just have an opening here. If bats can get not stuck on something. Don't smash him. Oh, mercy. Well, that worked. Okay, I don't know where to go. Is this door open? I'm leaving. Bye now.
If I'm getting smaller, it's because
I can't get out from here.
Hang over the...
I can't. Climb down where?
There, just hang.
Okay, at least I'm hidden.
That's why I was trying to...
Well, but I can't go anywhere from here.
Assassin's Creed level,
I can't.
pal.
That's why they let me do this, because I can get onto this catwalk over here.
Woo! Right, go ahead.
Tense. What was I saying something?
You were in the middle of something.
Was I saying anything of value?
Something
about you.
Something about
certain amounts of genres
butt being classified in world.
is that where you're going to classify it?
Yep. Well, you
Sure.
said your butt was a sitar, so
I was pulling a sitar out of my butt.
gee, that must hurt.
The point is, if you start getting into that level of finicky, you
Pulling
probably
a sitar out your butt. Yes. Of classifying
does he see
that.
me? He's looking in these vents awfully intently. Oh, okay, never mind.
So yes, oh my.
So the point is, wow, hello? What were you doing there? And also, what did
the
Bats
fact
just?
that he had that delay
Well, yeah,
in
he's
shooting you, he was just
Well,
like.
then again, I suppose there's a degree of surprise that could be expected, but I mean,
Well, you came up there like a rabbit on steroids.
I'd like a gargoyle, thank you. So I don't know. Like, there's a useful distinction between, say, power metal and heavy metal.
Yes.
And I could even understand the black metal distinction.
No.
Because it's not well, okay, never mind, because death and black are, I don't know what the difference is. I think black is supposed to be worse than death, but I don't quite understand why.
But that's just overly.
It's
like,
people who want to be
so hardcore.
Yeah,
we're
I think
extra hardcore.
That's kind of how it seems to me.
Yeah.
Who else wants some?
If someone can actually classify in a sensible manner the difference between black and hardcore, or
I don't think the hardcore metal is a genre.
well, I'm just saying
There's black and death
and death
and black
metal.
and decker.
Black and Decker metal. No, I'm just saying black and death metal.
I prefer DeWalt
are
metal
one
myself.
and the same in my
And
opinion.
yeah, I'm not sure what differentiates them. Because I think what mainly makes it is if you can delineate this is what makes something this versus this, maybe I'll listen. Because that's if
it's consistent.
Yeah,
Because here's
if you
the
can
thing,
make
there's
sense
a bit
of
of it
it
that's a little bit like No True Scotsman, where it's
Yeah.
like it.
Well, because like because this will get us into a discussion that we didn't have, which I meant to have. I recently learned that one of the things that classifies power metal, other than just speed, because that is the only thing I had previously known.
Is it slower? Or
No,
faster?
it's
more-
generally power metal has more narrative focused in the lyrics.
Oh, gotcha.
Which is interesting. I would never have thought to classify genres based on lyrical content, but it makes sense to a degree.
Well, especially in a larger
Okay,
genre.
I talked this up as
as-
being a sensible final conclusion, and I've taken this out in 2 goes, and
As,
once was because I was baked. There's one guy left over there.
The complexity of metal
Here he comes.
demands, I think, the subgenres to a
Sure,
degree.
but the reason I learned this is because I recently came across, well, not recently came across, I recently delved deeper into a band I had only heard of tangentially, which is Unleash the Archers.
And it is fantastic.
They have surpassed. I don't think I've ever talked even about my other favorite band.
mind blowing.
Because previously I would have told you my favorite metal band was Ordenogan, still an awesome, great choice for a metal band.
And I think we've talked about the difference in that I have been
we
a
talked about
Sabaton
them? Yeah, you're more of
fan.
a Sabaton guy.
Yeah.
But I think they're taking the place for me.
Yeah.
I think Unleash the Archers, you should absolutely check them out. The main
They're
chick,
fantastic.
I don't know what it is. You've got a thing for Catwoman. I've apparently got a thing for chicks in metal bands.
Well, I will say...
Because female-led metal bands always catch my, like, oh, okay. And I'm not sure if that's just my masculinity talking, or...
I'm picky with female vocalists,
Oh.
and so when a female vocalist comes along that is very
When a
effective,
female comes along,
like
you must do something else.
Diamante or
I'm not
to
gonna-
me, I like that. She's less. She did some stuff with Breaking Benjamin, and then
Okay, but see, admittedly, you showed me the one song, and it's a good song, and part of the reason it's good is because A, the original was good, and Breaking Benjamin's great.
No, I only
I have
shown
yet
you
to be
the
convinced-
Irish deal. You didn't listen to a lot of her stuff.
You showed me that one, and it was okay, but it was not like, wow, this chick's awesome.
and she does. I will say this: I am a huge, and this is a little bit.
We completely
of a,
talked over Doctor Strange's taunting remarks. He said something to us, but he's locked in his special safe room.
This is a little bit
gotta
of
figure something out.
a distinction between us, because I don't know that you're a huge fan of her, but when I was in high school, I was a major Evanescence fan,
You had a crush
And-
on the main chick.
and the reason is because I thought her vocals were amazing. But that being
sure
said,
that's the reason.
there has been very few people, in my opinion,
Wait,
that
am I just
going
going
to
to hack this device right in front of him?
He's
shaking his head being like, I bet you can't do it.
do
And I'm
it.
like, guess what? I've leveled up my security dongle.
And I know that your dongle
Gotham
is...
Savior.
Wow.
I didn't even... The code to the elevator was worse than that, you neck-bearded scruff head. He's got a fur pelt stapled to his chin. That's all that is. He didn't grow that.
Oh, the brood right there was intense beyond
We
measure.
just gave him the good old, this is Gotham!
But all that to say, Unleash the Archers has actually surpassed. Her vocals are, to me, paramount. In female vocals. It's untouchable.
Yeah.
That recently he sent me a video and it was, it was insane.
Which one was it? I've sent you several.
The 8-level pipe organ. It was like she was literally in.
And consider that was their first studio album.
Well, and here's the
They've gotten better even since then.
I will say this.
We're talking over the climax of the game because that's how great this band is.
This was not. I've heard female vocalists that hit high notes. That's not the issue. Because I've heard trashy high notes that are really, really, like, you're on pitch, but you sound horrid.
Are you thinking about Frozen right now?
Well, Idina Menzel does come to mind because you know how much I hate her vocally. Oh
no, plot! How did that happen? Oh, we're gonna insert him again.
Why is he
I was
here?
disappointed when
he can't be a final villain.
He's not. That's what's great, is we don't actually fight him right now.
What happens?
The game's already over. That's why I apparently was romanticizing.
So
I remember this final tower being much harder. There was only 5 guys in it. Because basically the whole point is Raz, whatever you want to call him, has been trying to destroy Gotham for centuries, and he keeps failing. So he was going to use Strange, because this whole plan was to destroy the city basically by just anarchy. And then turns out he was like, Strange is too weak, so he went from Batman's the only person who can succeed me to, well, Batman won't, so I'm going to use this guy, to now, no, this guy's weak, it has to be Batman again.
So anyway, high notes are very difficult to make sound good at that level, and I'm telling you,
to make sound good.
She makes them sound not just good. It will make you want to cry to the heavens.
I have actually, because I had heard...
It was insane.
I was listening to them just at work at one point through just my computer speakers, and I decided to go back and actually listen to the full album.
Yeah.
And we're going to get back to our main topic. But I did that, and I was listening to because I have a decent pair of headphones, over-ears, big, nice, good sound quality ones.
Get back.
We will, I promise.
Unleash the Archers is the main topic.
Well, it's a suitable one at least. But I was listening to it through my headphones, and even the songs that I had previously liked, I was listening to with the added texture and better quality of sound. And I admit I got a little even emotional at some point. I was like, wow, this is just so good.
Well, and he uses...
Strange is dead. There's a bomb about to go off.
This is an interesting sidebar we can make maybe later, but...
And that was the conclusion.
Video.
That was the sound of the conclusion of the game happening without us. Because we jump out the tower...
And we choke him out before he hits the
ground?
ground?
No, we're going to attempt to save him, and he's going to say nay. And I like how we didn't even bother. We're just like, oh, screw that, and then we just let him go.
Well, if we would have kept holding him, we would have said, screw us, too.
Well, but it's funny that he's trying to be like, oh, I'll save you, and then just like, never mind.
I think there comes a point.
And so the game...
There's a limit.
There's a limit. The game's over.
I noticed.
We did it. It's done.
You're right.
Ra's al Ghul was the power behind Hugo
Yep,
Strange.
Ra's al Ghul. So I was romanticizing because I thought that encounter was. I was thinking this would at least take us most of this episode.
Before watching the Arrow, did you pronounce?
It's always been Roz.
Something's come up.
Forgive me for Batman Begins. Oh, I forgot the game's not over. I was giving up the ghost. Right, we're not done with Joker yet.
Ra's al Ghul in that
it's Roz.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a stretch. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the comic people are going to be like, no, it's Raish for sure.
The comic people have been reading it, not hearing it pronounced.
But
so you're not right. You're just a fanboy.
Anyway,
I forgot. Yeah, Joker's.
Topic.
Joker's. Not. We're not done with him yet.
So back to the topic at hand, though. I do think that it would be an interesting sidebar if we get to it. That you use can headphones and I use the in-ear headphones. And the reason,
because you're always going to get price for price. The bigger is going to be better. You could buy a pair of really crazy expensive, nice mini drivers, and they would outperform a cheaper pair of cans. But if you spend $100 on each, the larger is going to be better because you can fit bigger speakers in there.
True. That being said, I really like in the same way that he was listening to those in those can headphones. Having a 5-driver pair of in-ears and listening to Unleash the Archers is insane because again you get all that dynamic.
And there's lots of dynamic.
Yeah. Well, dynamic, but also width. I mean, you can't describe the amount of. It's a wall of guitar,
it's a wall of everything.
Yes.
Like there's multiple chorus harmonies in the vocals. There's guitars galore.
Well, and her voice is not harsh. That's the thing. No. It's gorgeous, but it's strong.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes, I wanted to get. I said we were going to get back. I promise.
Bottom line is, you want to marry
her. Well, she's. Ah! That was hilarious. It was like I grabbed one dude and then just like, all of Gotham knows you're here. Okay, so clearly we got to pick our targets more carefully. She's Canadian, which means there's a bit of a geographical barrier.
Well, isn't she already married? I was partially making a pun.
I don't think so, but I don't know.
Oh. There you go. Maybe
I also don't know how old she is. I mean, I think you're leaping to several assumptions.
No, of course I am, but still. Anyway, go
ahead. There's through. But yes, I read that. That's our raving about Unleash the Archers. But the reason I brought them up is because they're apparently considered largely a power metal band, which I wouldn't have exactly guessed. Because to me, like the quintessential power band that's been used as the example forever is Dragon Force, which is just like all about crazy speed and insane licks and all that.
But it definitely is a story, a narrative.
Yes, that's why it made sense when I heard that description. Because at first I was like, I wouldn't have considered them a power metal band. I would have thought they were more in the heavy-ish. Because Ordinogan, also narrative based. Okay, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. And that's why batarangs come in handy. And apparently no one else heard that. No. Shh. What? Ah!
Okay, I think more people are... They might have heard it.
It's Splinter Cell up in here. Goodness me. Okay.
There was a couple scenes that you were really rocking that Splinter Cell, though.
I've got to try and... Apparently this is the true... I was wrong. This is the true climax of the game.
Well...
Thematically, gameplay... It
makes far more sense because the Joker is the climax of all.
Well,
take that as you will.
I'm leaving it where it is. But, so, like, Ordinogan I would have considered more of a heavy metal because I think they're not... I do think the speed element is necessary for power metal. But because Ordinogan, the reason I like them a lot is that they're not... Because as much as I like Dragon Force once in a while, it's like if you listen to a playlist of nothing but Dragon Force, it's like, okay...
It starts to sound similar.
It's a little... yeah, but it's also a little like drinking 5 cups of coffee. You kind of got to be like, I've got to get it out. I've got too much energy, I got to get it out.
Well, I mean, if you're working out.
Well, sure, but I mean, even then I'd be like afraid I'm going to bend something. Either the bar or my bones or...
I'm so freaking tough. I'm so freaking tough.
That's right. Anyways, okay, so this dude, here's what I'm going to do. I've got tricks. Where's my tricks? Ha ha ha, your gun no work. Now I like to point out this is supposed to be a silent takedown. How did that guy see me in the first place? And now I wasted my disruptor on him because he didn't hear me at all. I don't know what to do. Well, maybe it's just you got to pick the time right. Ah!
Well, it wasn't then.
It's
Silent takedown. You're gonna do it now that you've.
I'm in smoke. They can't. I have advantage because of my supreme sneak. That's a reference no one's gonna get. We'll maybe touch on that later. But anyways, we're now becoming the exact pedants we said is the problem with the genre classifications.
Which is what?
Which is I'm trying to split hairs between why Orton Ogan's a heavy metal band, but Unleash the Archers isn't, and it's despite the fact that they're it's whatever.
There's so much crossover.
I don't know. But the reason is, I think there's one thing that's interesting between the two, and is that evidently they say a staple of power metal is the more narrative, which is interesting because as I said, I recently listened to, in fact, 2 whole albums, not just one, because apparently their most recent 2 albums, Unleash the Archers, that is, although Orton Ogan, similar. But their last 2 albums, which were called, I believe, Apex and then Abyss, I believe is the second one's Abyss, the first one's Apex. And they are one cohesive narrative between the 2. And that is fascinating.
A little bit of a 21 Pilots in that regard.
I am not, I mean, I know who that is. I'm not familiar with why you'd bring them up. So I'll just trust that was relevant.
You know, it's a similar
Fail to see how that's relevant.
I
didn't realize there's a guy over there.
They had a similar approach in their kind of song structures as they developed.
Get out of here, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. Well, sure.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar.
Anyway, yeah.
But, so I had heard all of the songs separately, but it was fascinating. Okay. I thought I was going to land up there. It was fascinating to actually hear them in order, because that's one thing we've lost, I think, in the modern age of streaming music and downloading songs, is the fact that albums used to be meant to be listened to in order. Like there's certain songs on I forget which of them, both of them I think, where it's like one song leads immediately into the next, and you miss that if you're not listening to them sequentially. Right. Or even if you are, like there's the gap where it's like one ends and then it stops and then the next begins.
Or worse, you have some sort of, if you're not new to Spotify,
I don't know. I will never be a streaming person for music ever. I think we discussed that at least.
And we'll get into that.
For that reason and more.
Topic, yeah.
But, okay, can I get this guy? That guy over there looks like he might cause problems. He's gonna sweep. He's looking. No, we're good. Okay, get me out. So yeah, that was part of it. I had that experience and I was just like, this is great and these guys are great and now maybe genres are okay. But limited. There should be no more than 5.
I just think we have to keep everything, and I'm going to use this as a.
We're going to talk about Zen.
No.
You sure?
You have to keep. Well, I think Zen people would argue everything is Zen. But,
so now we're talking about Zen.
No. I think you have to keep everything in Jello rather than cement.
Thank you, Uncle Iroh.
What is that supposed to be?
That just sounded very much like an aphorism.
Sure, but I mean, the reality is, if you bolt something to the Earth's core that somebody else is not going to necessarily agree with,
you end up rupturing the Earth's core.
Yeah, exactly.
Nikola Tesla was talking about that.
You're eventually going to end up...
Something's going to get bolted somewhere you don't want it.
Yeah. Whether by somebody else or by your own... And you may back your own musical genre choices into a corner, which is sad.
Because then I think the point is the strict definition. Because you could argue that Unleash the Archers is probably both power and heavy metal if you really wanted to get down into it.
Right, but then you have people going, "Oh, I only listen to heavy or power."
So it's like being strict about it doesn't actually help you. If anything, it just ties you in knots. But so have we? I don't know. Do we have any clarity on this topic? I think we're going in circles now.
No, I think within metal, it's. Here's the.
Can I not?
The
drop
reality
attack in
is,
bats?
It's useful for
broad
describing.
Sure.
It's not useful for.
Well, and again, I think if you I didn't mean
hootie. If you're trying to explain to somebody what a band is
I did get him.
And you use subgenres, great. But if you're
but
trying
only
to
if
say
they agree with your
listen,
classifications.
Yes, but I'm saying, but if you try to say because you like this band, you must like this subgenre. That's not. Here's something I'm going to suggest. Rather
You're going to
than
suggest
trying,
it. Suggest it into the mic.
rather than trying to classify bands or maybe even albums in particular genres, why not classify songs?
Because the problem
Because
with
the
that is
reality
how do you if you had an out, because like I'm not gonna go down and break down every song on the albums I listen to and go these ones are different than these, because I'm gonna just tell you should listen to the whole album. Because what good's it gonna do other than go, what are you only gonna listen to these if you only like these genres?
Again, then you get back to, do you like the band or not? Are you a fan? Do you actually like what they put out, or do you not?
Well, yeah.
Because if you like only one song, then
Well, yeah.
didn't
we have that? Wait, you're the musical Oneater. Well, no, what's the opposite of?
Let's just talk about this.
You're a fan.
You're a fan of one song only and not the rest.
Consumer Oneater.
I don't know that we're making any sense. But the point is, genres are okay, but music is holistic, and you should treat it that way.
Exactly.
And whoa!
And she came.
Everything in this game gets resolved in cutscenes. Why does Bats even show up?
Have you seen his
Why?
jawline? That's why he shows up.
Okay. But of course, the game's not over yet, because otherwise this cutscene would be over.
She's got to approach him sultrily.
Sultrily? That's an interesting... And he's actually a little bit sad because he doesn't quite want Joker to be...
Gone.
Yes, but also he's too smart to realize... He's too smart to fall for this. He's going to put it all together just a little bit too late.
Do you keep a secret from the world's greatest detective? Well, do you know? You stick it right in front of him, right under his long, pointy nose. And wait.
Joker wants you to think he's sick. Then wait.
So this is actually a pretty decent
What?
surprise.
Joker gang, Batman.
Talia!
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Beloved. I didn't know.
She fell for it.
Encore. More. Bravo.
So the point is, Joker's still sick,
It was never.
and we were dealing with this guy.
Well, sometimes. Confusing, isn't it?
It doesn't exactly explain why he didn't just take it while it was there and she had it, but... I'm not sure that's going to show up on the mic.
Times like these.
Uh,
To keep up.
so yeah, I don't know if they might explain that why he
Sorry,
didn't
we are
take it
taking
yet.
a brief hiatus because I am curious about this part. Really, the Joker's the only curious villain.
Yeah, Mr. Freeze is-
Mr. Freeze was worthwhile. Him and his bum knee.
I don't quite get... Yeah, if he had it... This is a- this
silly
is-
buggers going
Yeah,
on.
this is evidently a Batman...
Okay. Is it hallucination?
No,
is
this
it...
is actually a real Batman
Oh, is this
character.
the Sand?
No.
Man?
Oh, the
no,
Sa-
that's Spider-Man.
No, well, this is not the same character, but it's a very similar character. It's not. He's not sand. He's clay, and that's different because sand
With Joker.
is dry, and clay is not.
How very observant of you. And apparently... it
So this is the true final fight of the game: is we fight this guy, which doesn't.
Okay, what is with his cheekbones
I,
right
we've
now?
just, they've been dislocated through years of getting punched in the jaw.
It's only been a couple months.
No,
At
he's been,
most here.
no, not in. He's been getting punched up since he became Batman. That was probably a while ago at
but
this
I
point.
don't know that
I'd
he
like to
looked
point
that
out,
bad.
look at all these like sharp stumps from where the seats were cut out. If I were to do rolls like this, I would just be impaling myself in the back.
That's true. Also, you are now wearing your
Opponent?
opponent.
Yeah, that's. I think that's his ploy. If he gets enough of himself on me, he can like.
It's like
You
a
know,
Venom thing.
Yeah, he'll like split, and then suddenly he has control of my body, and it's like gonna be a big mess. So the reason the freeze blast is selected is because that's the only way to deal with this guy is to freeze him. Because does clay freeze?
I don't have any idea what
I
the
mean,
rule
I
for
suppose-
clay is. I know it can't do that.
Ooh, oh.
Spontaneous combustion.
Ah, boy! Oh, dude, we're actually doing better than I thought. He's much lower than I figured, although he might have multiple health bars.
You know he does.
We gotta
You
freeze him
know
up,
He does.
because we're gonna somehow do a thing to him. Oh, don't get close.
So anyway,
Should we
No,
move on to other genres, or are
Yeah,
we...
sure. I mean, the
Metal's
metal has
great. If
been
you don't
talked
like it,
about.
you're... I don't know what's up with you. You're wrong.
I
is
don't
what
know that you
are.
understand metal if you don't like it.
Well,
because
I
you
think a lot of people think...
That
what I
sounded
think
very angsty.
Well, it sounded a little pretentious, I'll grant. I wouldn't think I used the word angsty, but I think one thing that a lot of people think is some people hear, like, black metal, where it's like, okay, I'm pretty sure they are actually sacrificing a bull to some pagan god. And it's like, I can understand that you'd be put off by that, because I would be too. But that's like, not even black metal. That's like, you know, that's angst metal.
That's trying to be hard.
Yes, and that I think is okay. I thought he's down to nothing. How much more do I gotta freeze him? How many more of these do you have,
It's the
Bats?
same thing with me, like
There
when
we
I
go.
see bands
The same
breaking
thing with me.
guitars up on stage, or
Well,
or like biting the head off a bird or something.
well,
It's like,
yeah, that's where you're going. You're
just
doing
trying
so.
too
You're up.
hard.
You're just a whack, is what you are. And for some reason, oh, he's got the thing in his mouth. That's why. It doesn't make any sense that Joker didn't just take this in the, even if he only had it for like a couple minutes. Why didn't he take it? Okay, so basically we just repeat this several times. So, oh, except he gets pinball-y. That big fat clay man sure plays, pinball, and apparently can turn his hands into sledgehammers. So anyways, yes, not all metal is like that. I don't even really like the screamy kind of metal. I find what a lot of people think of as metal is really just like angsty screamo punk music.
yes.
Which is like, we're just gonna thrash on our instruments, and the singer's gonna have a vocal hernia,
Which we've already said.
and
enter
we're gonna
grunge.
call that music. Well, no, grunge
Grunge
wasn't so
was-
much screamo. Grunge was like Nirvana, and that was more just like.
Oh, that was not. People, you have Nirvana fans out there that are gonna be horrendously offended
They
by you
can-
calling him grunge.
Nirvana is grunge. Nirvana's like the king of grunge.
They're not
Grunge was born in
though.
Seattle because of Nirvana. That is the history.
I don't know that I would call them grunge.
What would you call
case
them?
in point, here we are with the subgenre.
And
thing.
we've become what we swore we
Full
would
circle.
destroy. The point is, music should just be appreciated and not classified. How about
That is fair.
how about we go there?
as best we can.
We swing to the other end of the spectrum and say, I don't know, give it all up.
Just listen.
Yes, well, and that's so. Perhaps instead of let's ditch the genre topic and let's just talk about music we like, because I was listening to a bunch of my old playlists, going, you know what, music should be
therein lies
listened
the
to.
dilemma is, how do you say, hey, this is the kind of music I was listening to the other day?
Well, because I think we have genres, but we don't need our subgenres.
Yes,
we
that
need
much
to.
I agree.
Like calling something metal versus rock, that's useful because there's definitely a distinction. Whereas being like, oh, I don't like power metal, I'm more of a fan of, thrash metal. It's like, well, okay, does that make enough of a substantive difference to justify being so pedantic?
Right, exactly.
But then again, I would say if you say, oh, I only listen to one kind of music, you're not a fan of music. Because that's a weird thing to do. Yes, it's perfectly sensible to have preferences, but to say I don't listen to anything that's not this, that's like, why? What reason? I mean, other than the idea of saying I've listened to a bunch of it and I've never found anything that quite catches me.
Right.
But that is built upon the idea that you've listened to it. Like, I would say I'm not a big fan of rap music because I have at least tried to listen to some rap music. And I've found a couple songs that I like, and probably not many actual artists that I'd say I like, but a few songs. And I'm like, you know what? It's not really my bag. It's got to be purely a mood-based thing. So that is a reasonable thing to say. But to say, oh, I just don't listen to rap, it's like, well, that's silly. Why?
Yeah.
So anyways, genres you like. You got any?
Well,
I'm a bit of a cop-out and say I like any music that's technically well done.
Well, then that's true. Changing gears completely, because again, metal can typically relate to some form of, rock and things like that. But we also are big fans of folk, which I think we've covered.
So we're
in
going to change
brief,
gears totally.
Yeah,
completely.
exactly.
I forgot I got to
let's-
smack him up with the sword.
We both have that. You're carving.
I'm
him
making
like
a-
a Christmas ham.
I'm turning him into, what's it called? Sashimi. Or whatever the Isn't that what they?
It's not
I
like
don't
you
know
got a
exactly what
girl.
that's called. I
Hibachi?
know what you're getting at, though.
Whatever.
I think it is hibachi, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Oh, he's got a thing. He's got a comic.
Massive button.
He's got a comic book detonation button. Oh, mercy. How did I not notice those being all on the floor? Oh, bad times for me. Oh, that was gloriously close.
So, yeah, let's change gears a bit because
Let's change the subject.
we both have that on our...
And I was listening to some of that today, too, because I was... Whoop, Turd Man's still here.
Because he
We're
was
going to fight the Great Mighty Pooh.
He's following his own rule.
I am the Great Mighty Pooh. That's a real thing. I'm not making that up. Can you believe that Nintendo released that game?
What?
Conker's Bad Fur Day? You ever heard of it?
No, and I'm
It's-
awfully glad.
Yeah, it's a whack. I mean, Nintendo didn't develop it, but they did publish it, which, you know, gives a certain degree of approval. But it's whack as can be. There's flowers with boobs and the turd monster.
Oh, why do I recognize
Because
that
I think
sound?
you probably... It's famous for being so, like, how did this get made? It's kind of the quintessential tale of, like, what was Nintendo thinking? But anyways, folk music, it's good.
Yeah, folk music.
You will find... Here's one of the things I was thinking when I was listening to it today. You'd be hard-pressed to find...
Hard
more-
pressed to find.
You'd have a stroke if you were doing what I was doing. You'd be hard pressed to find a genre that can contain more of both, like, super upbeat, happy, joyful songs and really super depressing songs.
Yes.
Like, it can swing the full gamut between the two, because I think it's similar in a way. Because it's a cultural thing, in a similar way to, like, country music, which is arguably just a national specific brand of folk. It's basically just American folk. But, like, I think because it's it's rooted in sort of the cultural, I don't know what you'd call it, zeitgeist maybe. You can touch on some much more deep topics than I think you can in a lot of other songs. I mean, what's the most depressing song you can think of? Let's start there.
Within folk?
No, just in general. Is it not a folk song to you? Have you ever thought about this question? Because it's so
No,
odd.
I don't know that I have.
Because there are songs you listen to when you're sad, and I don't think that's the same thing as a song that is depressing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, a lot of Breaking Benjamin is the kind of music you listen to when you're sad, but it won't... I've never listened to it and had it make me sad.
Correct.
Because I don't think it was meant to do that. It was more like, this is meant to be for you if you are sad.
Correct, but I mean, so you're saying you're
just
you're
spitballing.
suggesting that
You ain't got topics this week
That,
other than this broad in general.
that folk is sad in topical.
It
nature?
can be. I don't think folk is like always sad, but I think that when folk music is sad, it's like it doesn't pull punches.
Well, I don't think it can afford not to because it.
Because I think
has
it's connected to the cultural sort of psyche,
well,
and that is a
it,
deep
Is it not?
well.
Is it not?
So I have to freeze him while he's up. That I'm forgetting to freeze him.
It's
okay,
not
except that he's
dissimilar.
vomiting on me.
It's not dissimilar to Negro spiritual, and here's why.
Well, that's arguably again a form of folk.
Right. And I would say that that's a fair argument because where a lot of folk, and again, let's not try to make this a hard and fast rule, but a lot of folk is Gaelic in some form or another.
Well, okay, no, a lot of the folk we listen to is. I don't think that's a hard and fast rule of
Well,
folk.
I'm not talking folk
Because
like
every country has
bluegrass.
its folk. Yes,
See,
like I
no.
said, country, bluegrass is more the American brand of folk.
Right, exactly.
The kind of stuff we listen to is... perhaps we should give some explanation before we dive into our... Like, no one's going to know is the problem.
What does
But,
that
like, I'm
mean?
trying to give examples, but it's hard because... I'm not sure what you'd call it other than folk. Do the Scottish and Irish people have a word for this music
Ooh,
other than their folk
that's
music?
A fair
Because it's
question.
like it's basically just country ballads, but sung by people from a different country. So they have different styles and touch on different themes.
stylistically completely different because it's
Well,
got
of course it's
different-
going to be, but I mean not that different though. Like I think
Yeah.
it's only different because different musical instruments were available to these people. Like,
Yes, but
American
that-
folk music is
that-
largely country because the guitar was around by the
Well,
time
the guitar
America
and
was
the
founded.
banjo and the washboard.
Yeah, like all of those musical instruments existed, whereas like when Irish and English folk music was being invented, like bagpipes were still a thing
Yeah.
that were used consistently. So I think the only reason it has a different style is just because it was made with a different set of instruments. But I think
there's
that-
actually a YouTube channel, and I
There's a
wouldn't say
YouTube channel. There's multiple.
Uh,
We're on
no,
one now.
No, there is a.
I keep forgetting. I gotta.
There's more.
Freeze
it's
the
more-
man.
I don't know if it's a full channel dedicated to this, but this gal, and I'll try to link in the description, but she does multiple songs and turns them into like the Irish or like Celtic version
Why
of.
does he puke on me?
And most of it is just them literally reframing time signature
Yeah.
and the type of
Well,
musical
yeah,
instruments. they
because I think that's that folk, like we were talking about with power metal being largely defined by its subject matter. I think that's really all that defines folk, is what is it talking about, and it's usually talking about real life issues. Sometimes it's not issues. Sometimes it's like happy life things.
use. Yeah.
But a lot of times it's just about culture, and it's just culture through whatever musical instrument that culture had.
Imagine that. Music is culture. Take that one to the bank.
It's all right. This is culture. I knew you weren't suited for literature.
So yeah,
He keeps puking on me, and I can't avoid it. Like literally, by the time I get up again, he's already puked on me. That's
dear
Amnesia:
me.
The Dark Descent.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get in there and mix it up. Ugh!
Oh, he really is gonna get in there and mix it up.
I don't know if this is the end of the fight or if
I
this.
hope so.
Now, presumably, like, what would that have? Why did that hurt him more than any of the other times I've slashed him with my sword? Just because he was cold beforehand? Like, there's a limit to. I mean,
That was a little too samurai
I'm not-
for you, Batman.
I'm not sure that this is even the end properly. Oh, okay. I like how his mouth didn't open for him to drink that.
Because his jaw is too.
His jaws. He's actually got lockjaw. He's got a permanent furrow in his brow, and he's got lockjaw. That was also the worst mechanism biologically for throwing that.
That is very true.
Like, that isn't how you would do that under any circumstances. And now we've got it. So now we got in there and we mixed it up. By that I mean we've got into the
so-
Lazarus pit and gunked it up with Clayface's internal organs. We still got like 10, 20 minutes.
So within the deeper level of folk, because we've talked about the fact that Gaelic or
but we were talking
Celtic,
about depressing stuff.
Yeah, but I'm saying.
Let's get there. I like that question.
Then how about you answer it?
Well, I was going to give you a chance. I didn't want to just go, here's a question I thought of the answer to.
Go ahead.
Because I think the reason, because we were talking about how it can be either like the most giddy, happy, joyful music or the most depressing, and I think that's the reason I find it interesting. But I was also hoping on you for a counter argument, because I don't just want to be like, clearly my opinion's right just because I have an example to show.
Well, I mean,
And Joker was his own undoing, because instead of just asking for the vial, which Batman probably would have given him, he decides to stab him, causing Batman to drop it, causing it to be broken, and for Joker to no longer be able to be cured.
Would have saved you.
This actually is the climax of the game, so it's worth paying attention to.
Pretty funny.
I was a little surprised when I first played this. I was like, they actually had the guts to do this and stick to it. Because, yeah, that's actually, like, what happens. Now, I don't think this game is considered canon by any means, or if it is, it's probably its own universe. But, like, they actually had the wherewithal to be like, you know what, we're going to kill off a major beloved character, and we're going to stick to it, which is why the whole Arkham Origins, the game that comes after this, is total bullcrap, because he's still alive. And that's stupid. Now, technically, Origins is a prequel, yes, but it was also made by a different studio, so we don't count it anyways. Because Arkham Knight is the game that comes after this and is made by the same studio, and Joker's not in it.
Yeah.
I haven't played it yet. But Joker's not in it because they stuck to their guns and went, no, we're going to make sure Joker stays dead. And I applaud them for that. It's bold.
What the hell
But,
happened in there?
yeah. And we have actually finished the game. Although I do think we have a DLC that may be worth doing, since we're going to 100% the thing. But we might wait before we do it. I think we'll probably do.
He's not even going to talk.
Well,
He's just going to show
well,
you
because
his
I do think there's.
broad chest and his lovely butt.
Because you look good, Batman. Smack. And we did it.
So, I believe that the
believe.
reason that folk can get away with both the depressing side of things and the jovial side of things
is because
is
life
because it
is depressing and jovial.
It is because it is probably the most honest with.
Because it's not about
General- yeah.
nonsense. It's about life.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I like it, is because you go, you know what? Sometimes I want to have a fun metal song that I can be like, yeah, totally awesome. And then sometimes I want to weep silently in a corner.
Yeah, well, and I think it's also, dare I say, inspirational at times.
Yeah.
Because it also tells about other stories of, not conquest, but of victory and of
Personal
yeah.
victory, even, not always large scale.
In
victory.
matter of fact, and this would be a question, I got into.
I already asked a question, so are we ever going to get around to it? How about you ask a question? No, you didn't.
I did answer
I asked
the
for an
question.
example, not just a pontification about the nature of the question.
Okay.
You
an
ask your
example
question, I ask you mine, and then we have to answer both. How about that?
Okay, fine.
What's your question?
Is how you came to folk music, because the way
That's
that I
not
came
nearly
to
as
folk
interesting
music,
as mine, because that's just a factual answer.
Well, no, I came to folk music ultimately by trying. At the time, it was because of watching Sherlock Holmes initially.
That's funny that you'd go to that. I know what you're talking about.
And I began to listen to it at work because initially I looked in. It was at the time of where Pandora was really big, and so I
Yeah.
typed in.
Should I skip the credits, or should I just
Irish
use them as an
fighting
excuse to
music
talk?
Sure, let's do that.
Yeah, we might as well. The game's done. Let's give the credit to the people who made it, and let's just talk for the next
But I
10
mean,
minutes.
I typed in like Irish fighting music, and then I ended up coming across all kinds of bands that I knew of, but had never really been able to listen
Well,
to.
but I
like,
imagine Irish fighting music would have led you to people like the Dropkick Murphys.
Yep, Flogging Molly, Dropkick
And
Murphys,
I
all that
don't-
kind of stuff. And initially, I was like, "Oh, this is great!" Like, I
It's
actually
punk
really
music sung by Irish people.
Yes, but then when I started actually going,
Oh my, that's a name.
First couple actual folk songs that came across the way, I ended up just dedicating a separate playlist to that and saying I really like this stuff. So then it became like sea shanty mix.
Oh, so you got into... I didn't realize you got into the sea shanties that early.
Yeah, I did. It
Because
was
to me, I was into folk for a long time before I got into those. And I don't... That's a separate... I mean, it was almost a separate thing, really.
yeah. So anyway, go ahead.
Well, my question is, what's the most depressing song you could think of? Because if it's not a
I
folk
had to-
music song, I'm actually curious as to what it would be.
If I had to,
I'm asking you to prove me
and
wrong.
that's
is
a
my
really
point.
hard question to answer because I've listened to so many things. So I fear that if I answer it now, I may go, "Oh, maybe I wasn't."
Well, maybe
quite.
we can touch on it later.
But
then again,
I
trust
would
your
say
gut. Does something come to
The
mind?
initial thing that comes to mind is the Waltzing Matilda.
That's a good one.
That's a really good one.
That's a very good one.
It's
but
a
I don't.
fantastic song.
Ooh, yeah. I still think I can one up you, but not by as much as I thought I would.
Wow.
Well, because that's a great song, and the Clancy Brothers. Have we talked about them? Did we talk about them last week?
We didn't really.
I don't think we did. The Clancy Brothers are a great folk band, if you ask me. If you're into Irish folk music, in the sense of like, tin whistles and guitars and fiddles and stuff.
And I will make the case, and I said this to you,
Make
and
the
you
case.
didn't necessarily like this that I said this, but they're not the most approachable if it's the first band that you're getting into with folk.
I don't remember you saying this, and I do take issue with it.
But they are a great.
What makes them
Band.
non-approachable?
They're very. If you're new to
I think
the
it depends on the
accents
song.
And yes.
You could certainly pick a random obscure song by them and be like, what's this?
But I'm saying, okay, you look at like the High Kings very approachable because it's almost modernized to the point
It's
that it's
very
not.
modernized.
But I'm saying it's more approachable.
Sure, but you must have a song in mind that you clearly think by the Clancy Brothers is like, whoa, don't listen to this
No,
first.
I'm just saying, like, for instance, when I first listened to, it wasn't Waltzing Matilda, it was one that you
Red
and I
is the
both
Rose?
had. Yes, and his
I
version
love their
of it,
version of Red is the
his
Rose.
version of it, I actually initially did not like.
It's literally him with a guitar.
know.
What could be unapproachable about a dude singing with a guitar?
Because his accent was really thick initially,
It's not
and,
that
and
thick.
I'm going, okay, well,
If you've heard "I Will Walk 500 Miles," and you're gonna call Liam Clancy's accent thick, when there's "and I would walk 500 miles,"
all
and
I'm
I
saying
would
is
walk
it's a little bit. For me,
I don't.
as somebody
'Cause
that
I could
pays
think-
a lot of attention to vocalists,
So it's
it
your
was
own
a
problem.
bit of a okay. It took me a second to get around his approach. However, when I got there, Waltzing Matilda is actually one of my favorite songs.
Well, you want to be careful. "Waltzing Matilda" is a separate song. I learned.
Then what?
Because the whole point is the song's called "The Band Played Waltzing Matilda" because that's the chorus. Is that the song? Because there is actually a song called "Waltzing Matilda."
Oh, right.
That's
right,
like
right,
an
right.
old school. I don't even know what it's about. Apparently, it's weird. I've heard because it's an old folk song where it's like there's a ghost involved and he does. It's
Well, we should listen to that.
well, maybe. That's a good one. Do you want to explain why it's depressing, or do you?
It's
a war song.
It's a
we'll
war
call
song,
it a
and
World
really,
War One song, actually, not a World War Two
yeah,
song.
and it does a really good job at doing the full narrative and kind
Yes.
of walking through a guy's life and watching how it's completely altered every part of who he is.
Yeah.
You know, it's really unique.
But I hadn't. I mean, I don't know why I hadn't thought of it because I did listen to that song today even. But I think the most depressing song I can think of is a folk song, and it's called "Kill Kelly Ireland," and it's very just like you listen to it and you're like, wow, this is awful. Because literally the structure of it is every verse, there's no chorus, and every verse is a letter written from a father to his like estranged son, who you learn, or rather you infer as the song goes on, has never responded to these letters. Because it's literally like the first verse is "Kill Kelly Ireland, 1850, my dear son John." And it's talking about like, oh, you know, your sister's getting married and your brothers are going off to find work and, you know, the house is awfully lonely. And it starts like, okay, yeah, normal folk song. And then the verse ends, goes to the next, you know, there's an instrumental, goes to the next verse, 1860. It's been 10 years, talking about, you know, your sister's children are, you know, young, you know, are growing and some of their brothers have moved home and there's famine and we're not doing too well. And then it continues on. It's like 1870, 1880. It learns like, okay, he talks about like, oh, your mother's passed on. And the song ends, literally. It goes 1890. The dad's talking about like, oh, I must be getting near 80 years old. And it's been 30 years since you left home. It's, you know, thanks for the money you've sent, but we'd love to see you come, you know, visit sometime. And then the song ends with "Kill Kelly Ireland, 1893, my brother John." I'm sorry to tell you that Dad's passed on, and he talked about you, and he died peacefully, and we'd love to see you. Why don't you come home? And it's like, this is just awful. As it like every verse comes along, and he's like, this is just dreadful and depressing, and why am I listening to this? Because it's like, wow, I don't know how you could get more depressing than that, because it's not like you wouldn't listen to it when you're sad, because it won't make you feel better.
Well,
and in fact, if you're having a good day, it might make it not a great day.
Well, and so why is it palatable within folk? And that's
honestly, that's not a song I listen to frequently because of that. It's like I respect it as a song because it's gripping on an emotional level. You're like, wow, this is...
Gripping's a good word.
But it's not like, oh, I'm going to listen to this today.
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
yeah.
so how did you end up coming across folk at first?
It was funny enough that you mentioned, because the song you're referring to is... Oh, I forget the name of it. It's the Dubliners. The Rocky Road to Dublin.
Yeah.
That's by the Dubliners, isn't it? Or
It
is
was,
that by
yeah,
the...
there's been a lot of people that did
Theirs is the
Dubliners
famous
is
one,
the
and
most
it's the one
famous.
in the movie.
Yeah.
It's the fight scene in the first movie, the whole discombobulate scene that's become a meme now.
Yep.
it's the song that plays during that fight, and it's funny that was for both of us like, oh, this song's kind of fun.
Yep.
And then for me, it took a turn where I was like, I also really liked the. It was around the same time The Hobbit came out, and like the Misty Mountain song that the dwarves sing. It's in that sort of vein. So I was like, oh, I like that too. And then that led to like I came across the Clancy brothers, and I was like, oh, I like these guys. And then I listened to more of the Double Inner stuff, and it was much slower for me because I was younger, and so I didn't like dive into it. It was really only a couple years ago that I was like, I'm going to deep dive into this because I think it's fascinating. And that's when I found like the Battlefield Band and a whole bunch of the Scottish.
Yeah, I think you probably exposed me to more obscure stuff, but I had a
because Battlefield Band's
broad...
great. If I had to recommend one, I'd go Battlefield Band.
Definitely.
Has a wide range, and they're not approachable because they have very thick accents.
That is very true.
And the songs are usually about like historical things in Scotland no one outside of Scotland knows about. Right. And so, yeah, I would not call them approachable, but they're jaunty.
Yes.
I would use the word jaunty, which I've never used in any other context.
I do think that I had a fairly
Why are we looking at the sales interns?
I had a fairly broad...
I think maybe it's time to skip
exposure
this.
to...
yeah, we're not going to do this, of course.
Exposure to a lot of the folk stuff, but then because I was an
this
adult
is a
as I
fun
approached
aspect. You can unlock alternative Batman stuff.
So he can dress as the Joker?
No, it's you can dress as like the Adam West Batman with the blue suit,
gotcha.
or you can be the animated Batman with like the glowing white eyes. That's a fun feature.